The warrior princess stomped across the courtyard, every step a battle, and not the kind she was used to. Her thighs had betrayed her again. The moment stress crept in, they clamped down like a vice, leaving her wobbling and cursing like a drunken bard. She tried to lift her leg to mount her horse, and the beast nearly bolted, snorting in indignation as if it, too, were personally offended by the situation. Guards flinched. Courtiers gawked. And somewhere in the shadows, someone muttered a prayer that she didn't topple forward and crush the royal ceremonial table. The pressure between her thighs wasn't just physical. It was political, emotional, and frankly, embarrassing in ways no amount of armor could disguise. "Your Highness," one guard squeaked. "Might we suggest some magical intervention?" She glared, the glare alone threatening to dislocate their jaw. "I have tried every spell, charm, and potion in the kingdom. My thighs do not negotiate. They have declared independence." The court wizard, who had been hovering like a nervous raven, cleared his throat. "Perhaps a charm of unbinding." "Unbinding?" she barked. "You mean more uncomfortable humiliation in front of my people while you mutter nonsense? No, thank you." Even the dark sorceress, renowned for handling curses that turn men into frogs, women into statues, and occasionally, entire armies into embarrassing cloud formations, had failed spectacularly. Her spells only made the vice grip of her thighs tighten further. Each failure brought another blush creeping up her face, blushes that no gown, no amount of silk or gold, could conceal. And it wasn't just failure. The embarrassment was deliciously public. A double-edged sword she would have preferred to keep sheathed. Attempts at distraction were futile. Singing, chanting, juggling fire torches, even polite conversation with the prince of the neighboring realm, all failed. Her thighs, it seemed, were more loyal to the curse than to any sense of propriety or royal dignity. Then came the human healer from the so-called soft world. Humans were the stuff of myths in her court, fragile, squishy, and generally useless for anything requiring strength or courage. Yet here he was, standing with a calm smile, observing her struggle like one would watch a cat attempt to navigate a closed door. "I hear you have a problem with mobility?" he asked. His voice was gentle, teasing, and carried an undertone that made her squirm even more. Not her thighs this time, her pride. She opened her mouth to berate him, to remind him that royalty didn't suffer from weakness, but he cut her off with a slight raise of his hand. "Relaxation. Muscle control. Honesty." "Honesty?" she repeated, incredulous. "You mean I have to confess my deepest fears in front of my court while my thighs stage a coup?" "Yes," he said, deadpan. "That's exactly what I mean." Her guards choked on their own laughter. Courtiers tried to hide behind pillars, faces red, but failing spectacularly. Even the wizard whispered, "He might actually be onto something," though no one quite believed it. The princess clenched her jaw, glaring at him. If this was some kind of joke, it was cruel. Her thighs had made her a prisoner in her own body, a spectacle of royal humiliation, and this human was smiling, watching, judging. And then, mercifully, she tripped over her own feet, well, technically over her thighs, and fell into a ridiculous heap, a mixture of silk, pride, and literal chaos. The court gasped. The guards rushed forward, but she waved them off, cheeks flaming hotter than a dragon's furnace. The human healer crouched beside her. "See? Just acknowledging reality seems to help a little. Step 1, admit you're stressed." "Step 1? She shouted, squeezing her thighs together instinctively, which only made the curse laugh at her. "I am a warrior princess. My thighs will obey me." "They're very obedient," he murmured. "Just not to you, yet." A blush she tried to hide crept across her face. The idea of someone seeing her like this, helpless, flustered, and hilariously defeated, was humiliating, yes, but there was something undeniably intriguing about his calm confidence. Something that suggested, perhaps, that she didn't have to face this battle alone. And as she sat there, pinned by her own muscles, the absurdity of the situation finally sank in. Maybe, just maybe, a human, soft, fragile, ridiculous as they were, might actually know what to do. The human healer didn't rush. He didn't fuss. He just sat, legs crossed like a monk who had nothing better to do than observe a princess whose thighs had declared civil war. First, he said, we need to understand your muscles. Not magically. Physically. Biologically. And emotionally. She blinked at him. Emotionally? My thighs? Yes. Stress, fear, pride, they all tighten the wrong places. His voice was calm, almost teasing. Like a lock. And locks need a key. Or honesty. Her blush deepened. Honesty? Do you mean? I have to admit I'm scared. Yes. And maybe a bit embarrassed, he added, tone carefully neutral, though a flicker of humor danced in his eyes. It's entirely voluntary, but highly recommended. The princess groaned. I am a warrior. I don't admit fear. My thighs don't either. She attempted to rise, but her legs betrayed her, stiff as iron bars. The guards stifled snickers. The courtiers tried not to peek, but curiosity, and perhaps a little glee, overpowered discretion. The healer leaned closer. I promise no magic. No tricks. Just relaxation. Control. And a little humility. Humility, she repeated, and the words sounded like a curse in her mouth. I am royalty. I have never. I mean how? Her thighs clenched reflexively, as if mocking her. Exactly, he said. Step 1, breathe. Step 2, feel what's happening without judging. Step 3, admit fear out loud. We'll do the rest after your thighs stop laughing at you. The absurdity of the instructions made her snort. You want me to confess that I'm scared while sitting here like this? Her legs tensed, silk robes twisting around the locks of muscle that refused to cooperate. The healer's calm gaze only worsened her embarrassment. Precisely. She clenched her fists. This is ridiculous. You have no idea how ridiculous this is. I am a warrior princess. My battle scars, my victories, they mean nothing. And now I'm. She cut herself off, realizing she was squirming, twisting like a puppet on invisible strings, her pride melting into laughter that sounded dangerously like panic. Perfect, he said. That's the honesty. The acknowledgement. Humor counts too. Stress releases in laughter, oddly enough. She glared. You think this is funny? I think it's necessary, he replied matter-of-factly. And yes, funny. Especially the part where you try to maintain dignity while your thighs have gone on strike. She groaned again, collapsing onto a velvet cushion with a dramatic flail that sent silk spilling everywhere. I can't even sit properly without pain. Or embarrassment. Or both. Then let's focus on one thing at a time, he said patiently. Breathe. Feel. Admit what you're afraid of. Your thighs will follow your honesty. Not your pride. She swallowed hard. Admit fear. Say the words. Her throat felt dry. Her cheeks felt hotter than the forge. And yet, there was something liberating about it. Something that didn't involve spells, potions, or ridiculous levitation charms that never worked. I'm scared, she whispered, almost apologetically. The words sounded strange, like admitting she just tripped over a dragon egg, or confessed she'd been scared of the bathwater since childhood. She closed her eyes, waiting for the world, or her thighs, to judge her. The healer smiled, gentle and unwavering. That's it. That's the key. Now feel your muscles soften as the truth slips past your pride. Her thighs twitched, then loosened slightly, enough to allow a small, victorious wiggle. She gasped. Guards blinked. Courtiers gasped audibly. The human healer's calm presence radiated confidence, and she realized, hilariously, absurdly, that a soft, fragile human was teaching a warrior princess how to survive herself. And as her thighs relaxed just a fraction, she felt a strange, shocking thought: maybe strength wasn't always about muscle, sword, or shield. Sometimes it was about vulnerability. The healer's patience was infuriatingly effective. The princess shifted on the cushion, thighs twitching like rebellious soldiers testing a truce. Every breath she took reminded her of the absurdity. A warrior, feared across kingdoms, brought to her knees by her own legs, and a human with soft hands and sharper insight than any court wizard. "You're doing well," he said, voice calm, almost teasing. "Just keep acknowledging what's happening." "Do you understand what's happening?" she snapped, though her voice betrayed the tiniest crack of uncertainty. "Do you know what it feels like to have your thighs decide you're unworthy of sitting, standing, or existing with dignity?" "I think I'm getting a sense," he replied, eyes not leaving hers, but there was a quiet humor in the corners of his mouth. "It's impressive. In a terrifying, hilarious way." Her cheeks flamed hotter than a forge, partly at the description, partly at the laughter bubbling up despite herself. "Hilarious? You think this is funny?" "I think it's progress," he corrected, leaning closer. "And yes, funny in the way that you realize your own strength can be your own worst enemy." She groaned, wriggling again. Every movement was an exercise in humiliation. Guards muttered prayers, courtiers hid giggles behind fans, and she imagined the legendary bards would have a field day composing songs about the warrior princess who couldn't sit properly. Every attempt to straighten her posture was met with a stubborn squeeze from her thighs, as if mocking her very notion of control. The healer's hands hovered careful, patient. "Now gently. Let's work on releasing tension. Not with magic, not with force, just awareness and honesty." Her blush deepened. "Awareness? Honesty? I'm aware that I'm a laughingstock, and I've admitted that I'm scared. What more do you want?" "More than admission," he said softly. "You need to embrace it. Accept that fear doesn't make you weak, and that vulnerability is, surprisingly liberating." She snorted. "Liberating?" Her thighs were still the unruly tyrants of her body. "You have a strange definition of liberation. And you have very strong thighs," he replied without missing a beat, letting the double entendre hang in the air like an uninvited bard. She wanted to smack him, but her limbs refused cooperation, still clinging like stubborn steel clamps. "Fine," she muttered. "If it's liberation you want, then I am terrified." Her voice wavered, a mix of frustration, humiliation, and unexpected relief. The confession was both absurd and oddly satisfying. "I am terrified that I will never sit, ride, or walk without embarrassment. That my subjects will see me as soft. Useless." "Good," he said, voice low and steady. "Now feel your muscles respond. Notice the change." Tentatively, she shifted again. A small release, subtle but undeniable, crept through her thighs. She gasped, half in shock, half in relief, half in disbelief at the intimate absurdity of the situation. A soft chuckle escaped her lips, though she would have denied it later. "You see?" he said. "Not magic. Not brute force. Just understanding, control, and honesty." She huffed, collapsing back into the cushion with a dramatic flourish. "This is humiliating," she admitted, voice wavering between irritation and reluctant amusement. "I am lying here like a soft human baby while my thighs, my prized, legendary thighs, cooperate with a stranger's instructions." "Exactly," he said, voice calm, almost affectionate. "And that's how real strength works sometimes. Not muscle, not pride, not a battle cry. Just honesty." For the first time in weeks, she felt a strange warmth, not entirely from embarrassment. Her thighs, still twitching, now responded in small increments, like reluctant allies reconsidering their loyalty. The realization hit her with absurd clarity. A human, fragile and underestimated, was teaching her more about power than any sword, spell, or throne ever could. And as she shifted again, laughter spilling into something almost tender, she admitted silently, more to herself than him, that maybe being vulnerable didn't make her weak, it made her unstoppable. Just, in very unexpected ways. By now, the princess was practically glowing with a mix of embarrassment, relief, and something she wasn't ready to name. Her thighs, which had spent weeks conspiring against her, were finally beginning to listen. Tentatively, delicately, they loosened under the healer's calm guidance, responding to honesty and subtle muscle control rather than force or magic. The absurdity of it all made her laugh, loud, unrestrained, and completely unroyal. I can sit without screaming," she said, disbelief dripping from every word. Her voice wavered between triumph and incredulity. This is impossible." "No," the healer replied, eyes meeting hers with a quiet amusement. "Just unconventional." Unconventional didn't begin to cover it. She had been humiliated in every conceivable way, thrown onto cushions like a misbehaving toddler, teased by the softest human she'd ever encountered, and forced to admit fear while everyone watched, or at least imagined they were watching. And yet, she felt stronger now than she had in weeks. Stronger because she had surrendered control in the most intimate way possible. Stronger because her thighs, finally cooperative, reminded her that vulnerability could be a weapon. Are you sure this is safe?" she asked, shifting again with care. Her blush still flared, cheeks hot as the forge, but the laughter that bubbled from her throat was genuine this time. "I mean, I could have a throne-related accident at any second." "Safe enough," he said dryly. "And remarkably effective. You're flexible in ways magic couldn't achieve." His tone carried a teasing warmth that made her thighs twitch for reasons entirely unrelated to the curse. She froze for half a heartbeat, realizing the absurdity of the thought. A warrior princess, fearlessly conquering armies, now pondering the unintended effects of a human's calm demeanor and clever guidance. "Flexible in ways magic couldn't achieve?" she repeated, a smirk tugging at her lips despite herself. "Yes," he said simply. "Sometimes humans succeed where spells fail. Sometimes soft hands and honesty work better than fireballs." Her laughter escaped, louder now, carrying through the courtyard, unrestrained and triumphant. Guards stopped mid-step, courtiers peeked behind pillars, and somewhere a bard fainted in envy. She didn't care. Her thighs, obedient for the first time in weeks, allowed her to sit, shift, even cross her legs without rebellion. It was a small victory, absurdly sweet, and infinitely satisfying. "You," she began, voice softer, tinged with something more than amusement. "You've done the impossible. You fixed something no wizard, sorceress, or alchemist could touch. And I suppose I have to admit." Her cheeks flamed hotter, though this time the heat wasn't just embarrassment. "I trust you." He inclined his head slightly, a small, knowing smile on his lips. "Good. Because that's part of the cure too. Confidence in someone else can unlock parts of ourselves magic never could." Her laugh returned, this time a little more mischievous, a little more playful. "So, the mighty princess, undefeated in battle, humbled by her own thighs, healed by a human." She shook her head, still blushing, still marveling at the ridiculousness of it all. "I suppose history will record this as unusual. Legendary," he corrected gently, eyes glinting. "And useful. You now have full control, your thighs obey, your body responds, and your pride, well, that can recover over time." She sighed dramatically, leaning back with a victorious flourish, the weight of weeks of tension finally lifting. Her thighs felt free, her pride slightly battered but intact, and a new respect, and something more, blossomed for the healer who had shown her that strength wasn't just in muscle, armor, or titles. It was in honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to admit fear. And as she glanced at him, cheeks still warm, a thought struck her, absurd and perfect. Sometimes admitting you're scared isn't weakness at all. Sometimes it's the strongest, most revealing thing you can do. And sometimes, it's what it takes for a warrior to truly walk again.